So moving on to our next speaker, it is Dr. Sunil Maini. Dr. Maini is the CEO of Sunil Maini CPA, and Dr. Maini will be taking us through the PPP Forgiveness for small businesses, where PPP stands for Paycheck Protection Program. Welcome, Dr. Maini. And I'm sorry that we got delayed here, but thank you for your patience. So I'll pass the ball to you so that you can start when you're ready.
Thank you so much. I have yet to earn my PhD, but I did pass my high school with difficulty. So in that way, I'm a PhD. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear
yes,
me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And I do want to thank IndiaNear and yourself as the host, and as well Anu Jacob, who saw me from all sides when I was busy, when I was not busy, and so really want to thank her for that, for reaching out. And it's a very fine forum that you guys have put together. Good for you, good for all the beneficiaries for sure. And I am going to talk a little bit different than from the previous couple of speakers that I was privy to. We are going to talk about the result of what happened in 2020. In 2018 and 2019, I used to think that we will have a lot better clarity and vision in 2020 than we will ever have. And we have learned a lot of things. The protocols that we have to follow now, the social distancing, the mask wearing, and being careful. One of the best ways to probably handle the pandemic is by keeping quiet. But that I cannot do today. I can do it starting tomorrow. And so they told me that I should. Can we share our screen? Can I get your name also?
Yes. Sini. My name is Sini.
Sini. Okay, good.
Yes.
Thank you, Sini.
Yeah, if you look at the bottom of your screen, there is a share button, and yes, I can see your screen now.
Okay, good. So, the subject matter Anu Jacob selected for me became the PPP loan forgiveness. So the pandemic that I was talking about, the best way to handle it is by keeping quiet. That way, there is no way to spread it. But today we will forego that, and the one good thing that did come during 2020 when needed was that we could apply for the Paycheck Protection Program so that we could keep our employees and we could continue our business, even though for some businesses the government asked us to close it for a while so that the spread could be reduced. So let me. So today we will start with talking points so that this is like a table of contents. We will start from the SBA forgiveness form. We will introduce all of them. And for the self-employed, they can file the 3508S, and I'm calling it the short form instead of for small organizations, but short is the best answer for that. And also they can file the 3508EZ form. And if you have multiple businesses and as a same owner, then there is a cap for how much wages can be forgiven. That we will discuss. And also we will talk about how to complete the Schedule A worksheet for the Form 3508. And the next thing we will talk about is what happens if there is a drop in pay. There is a forgiveness reduction, but later we'll talk about how to get over it by following a safe harbor or a reduction exception. Now, the sixth point that we will discuss is a salary wage reduction during the covered period. First was the drop in pay. Then there was a drop in number of employees. And then there is a reduction of drop in headcount. The number of employees is called the headcount here. And then you will have to calculate the full-time equivalency reduction, safe harbors, and reduction exceptions that we will also discuss. And we'll give you examples on the safe harbors. And what happens if the forgiveness application is not filed? We will discuss that also. So at the journey's end, you will be familiar with the Form 3508 short form tests, and also how to, if you do meet the one of the three tests, not all three, but one of the three tests, you can complete the Form 3508 easy, and as well who has to file Form 3508. And here I want to pause and say that it is best that everybody prepares the Form 3508 because the audit period is open for 6 years. And then you file, there is no data needed for the 3508S. You can file that, but still have the all the requirements and conditions required by 3508. You complete those and keep it in your work papers. And then the next thing you will know at the end is if you are an owner of multiple business, if you are an owner employee, so 5% or more ownership makes you an owner employee. And the cap for that is if you use the 8-week period, it's 15 to 35. And if you use the 24-week period, it's 20,833. And if you're an owner of multiple businesses, again, your cap is still 20,833, and if you have already received funds from the multiple businesses, as though you are getting $100,000 from each business, then some of that loan will not be forgiven. You will know that at the end of the presentation. And then if there is a drop in pay, there are safe harbors that can apply to you. If you will restore the pay by the salaries or the wages by 12/31/2020, and so that way you are good. You're learning about this on November 7th because you have a month and 3 weeks to catch up and get the reduction for the entire amount, the forgiveness for the entire amount. Forgiveness is what I meant. And the last thing you will know is the drop in headcount, and there are 2 safe harbors and reduction exceptions. The safe harbors are, you'll be, and we'll go through them in the next slide. So I'll move on. The talking point 1 is the loan forgiveness SBA forms. And there are 3 forms, the short form, the easy form, and the Form 3508. The eligibility to use it if your loan is less than 50,000. So even if you have multiple businesses and you got received from, let us say you have 8 businesses and each of them received less than $50,000, as long as the total PPP loans were less than $2 million, you can use the 3508S form. And you can use the form easy if you meet 3 conditions, and we will talk about them in the next couple of slides. And all borrowers can use the Form 3508. And our best recommendation is prepare the Form 3508, regardless of what kind of form you will end up using, and be prepared for the worst. And then you can always and only hope for the best in that scenario when you're prepared for the worst. The forgiveness reduction for drop in pay, if there is a drop in pay, you cannot use the S form. And also you cannot use the easy form. You have to use the 3508. Same thing for the reduction in headcount, in the full-time employee equivalent number if it is reduced. And then if you have received it is spelled Economic Injury Disaster Loan, EIDL. It is abbreviated as EIDL, but it is pronounced as IDLE, idle loan. If you received an idle advance of $10,000 or less, you have to reduce the PPP loan forgiveness by that amount. In all forms, that facility has to be fulfilled. Otherwise, it'll be seen as wrong action on your part if you do not disclose that you have received the idle funds. And in the form 3508S, you do not have to show the calculations. In the other two, you do. And the Schedule A worksheet has to be attached only in the form 3508. It is clear. The supporting docs are required to be kept by, to be sent to the SBA. And the supporting docs I have listed at the bottom of this page. It's the payroll summary during the covered period. And the form 941s for, I'm suggesting all 3 quarters for this year. And the state unemployment tax forms that you have. And also the, if you have any qualified expenses that you are wanting to deduct, then you have to list those as well. And all 3 forms are open for audit, and the Treasury would not give in to that. Next page is, the next talking point is a self-employed. You can use the form 3508S or EZ. The self-employed example, the first recommendation, if you did receive the PPP loan as a self-employed person, do move the money from the company account to your personal account. That if you do not do, then the loan may not be forgiven in some instances. Most instances, you still might be able to get over it, but please do as the recommendation says. Then the example for a self-employed person is Andy, who is self-employed and has no employees, had $120,000 profit on the 2019 Schedule C. And everybody knows the cap is $100,000, and $100,000 divided by 12 and multiplied by 2.5 comes to $20,833. And he received this loan on May 1st, and he's seeking for loan forgiveness. If he goes through the 8-week period, then the amount is limited to $15,385. Therefore, he will be better off selecting the 24-week period and withdraw the money from the company account into his personal account, the total amount, $20,833. And he can complete either of the 2 forms since his loan was less than $50,000. And he meets the condition that he's self-employed, which is one of the conditions for form 3508 easy. And he can file the form, either S or easy. The S form, this is pretty much the bottom of the form has your signatures. And so this is pretty much the entire form, therefore. His name was Andy, and he did not have a DBA in this scenario. His address is listed as his EIN number, and the PPP loan amount was $20,833. The loan number and the lender loan you will get from those you will gain from your bank, and the loan amount is listed, and as also the date he received the loan, and he did not have any employees, and the forgiveness amount he's seeking is $20,833. That's pretty much the size of the form, but we still want you to prepare the 3508 for your own records. The checklist that you have to file for the easy form is that I am a self-employed person or an independent contractor or sole proprietor, and I did not have any employees. And to complete the other 2 conditions that are, the first condition is made up of 2 parts, as also is the first one is that you are a self-employed person or an independent contractor. The second and third have 2 parts. So in the first part, you did not reduce the wages or salaries of any employee, and you did not reduce the number of employees. So neither the wages nor the headcount was reduced. That's the first condition. And the second condition of the second 2, the salary was not reduced, and the government had asked you to either close the business for a while, or the same level of business activity as before February 15th, 2020 did not continue. Your sales went down, your revenues went down during the period from February 15 because of the compliance through March 1, 2020 and even up to December 31, 2020. So those are the two requirements. So first was that you are self-employed. Second was that you did not reduce the wages of any employee by more than 25%. And the second part of this condition is that you did not reduce the headcount also. And the third condition is that you did not reduce the annual salary or by more than 25%, and the borrower was not able to operate during the covered period at the same level of activity as before February 15th due to compliance with the requirements established or guidance issued by between March 1 and December 31, 2020 by HHS or CDC or this state or any OSHA or so because of the COVID-19. The Form 3508 easy, once you have met the one of the three conditions, and here also the loan amount is listed, has to be recorded, and as well the disbursement date and the covered period has to be added, and whether you are self-employed or you are the frequency of the pay schedule that you have. That's the Form easy. And again, the 941 and the state returns and the expenses, if you list any, they have to be included as attachments. Actually, if I go back, in the very last line, if the borrower had, this is where I was mentioning earlier, if you received, if you had multiple companies and let us say you had 10 companies and each one of them received $40,000, the last line says if you received the total of more than $2 million from PPP loans, you could not have filed the easy form. You will have to go to the 3508 form. This is where that exception rules out this form to be completed. The easy calculation, the payroll costs that you received a loan, PPP loan from or as a result of is 20,833. There were no mortgage interest payments, and the mortgage interest payments are deductible. Let me go to the next one. The rent is deductible. Let us say you own the building yourself in another company. The rent that is deductible is equal only to the mortgage payments of that company that owns the building. So that rent has a little bit calculation that you have to go through. And also you can include the utility payments. The mortgage interest payments, if your own company owns the building, and if you are paying rent to yourself through, to a related company, then the rent that is includable is only up to the amount of mortgage interest of that company that you own, that you yourself own, and utility payments are deductible. The potential forgiveness amount in this scenario that we have painted is line number 5 is the sum of the first 4 lines, and the PPP loan amount was the same amount, and the requirement here is the payroll cost divided by 0.60, the 20,000, the line number 1 divided by 0.60, you have to record in this line. And then the line number 8 reads the smallest amount between 5, 6, and 7 is the one that the amount which will be forgiven. Next point, if you are the same owner of multiple businesses, then the owner-employee, when an individual owns a business 5% or more, the individual is considered an owner-employee for that business. For owner-employee, the cap across all the businesses is 20,833. So again, the forgiveness amount is capped at 20,833 per individual across all businesses. So if you have 10 partners and all of them have 10% each, all 10 are capped for 20,833 across all the partnerships he might be involved in. The rule applies to individuals who own more than one businesses, regardless of ownership percentages. Now, even the 5% don't matter. If it's even 3% or 2%, then also your cap across all businesses is 20,833, and the individual can allocate 20,833 among his businesses per your discretion. So, if in one business you had only 15,000, you can take 15,000 there and take 5,833 from any of the other 9 businesses that you own in this scenario. The example number 2, multiple businesses, same owner. Bobby owns 3 businesses. All 3 businesses received a PPP loan. Bobby receives payroll from all the 3 businesses. In business A, 50,000. In business B, 100,000. In business C, $200,000 for a total payroll for Bobby for $350,000. The forgiveness cap for the first business is 10,417. Again, 50,000 divided by 12 and multiply by 2.5. That is 10,417. Again, 100,000 divided by 12 multiplied by 2.5. That answer is listed there. And for 200,000, again, the cap is 100,000 only. So the same calculation, the same answer. And so the total PPP applied across the 3 businesses was 52,083. But Bobby can only get forgiveness for 20,833. The rest she will have to start paying back following. The application has to be filed within 10 months following the end of the covered period. And if it is not filed, the loan will not be forgiven. Know that. And then you have to start paying, I think, 7 months following that date. I will tell you the date in a minute. How to calculate that date which the loan has to be paid back starting. The next point is the worksheet A, the Schedule A worksheet example. The business, here is a business without owner employees, and there is a drop in pay penalty and drop in headcount penalty may apply to employer. So this is a drop in pay test. Let me see if I missed. No, this is right. So here is a drop in pay test applied to existing non-owner employees who were paid no more than the annualized equivalent of 100,000. And each new employee in 2020 has to be recorded in Schedule A worksheet. I think the example is in the next slide. So we'll just get familiar with this particular conditions. Drop in pay penalty and drop in headcount penalty may apply to employer if there is a drop in pay test that has to be calculated. The existing non-owner employees who were paid have to be reported on Schedule A worksheet table 1. The non-owner employees who own less than 5% and any new employees that was added in 2020, they will get recorded on table 1. If there's a drop in headcount test, it applies to all the non-owner employees. That is table 1 and 2. And so here in the table worksheet, table 1 have to be listed all the employees who were paid no more than the equivalent of $100,000. And then table in the drop in headcount test apply to all non-owner employees, and you use table 1 and table 2. So example here, this is the form 3508. The Friends Inc. was affected by the COVID. 100% owner Chandler had $120,000 wages in W-2. He's an owner employee. The manager of the company, Joey, had $105,000 in 2019. So he's only a manager, a non-owner employee. And there were 3 other non-owner employees who were receiving less than $100,000, Phoebe, Ross, and Rachel. And so on the Schedule A worksheet that needs to be completed, Chandler A will not be included on table 1 or 2 because he's the owner employee. And in table 1, you will include the employees who got whose salary did not exceed 100,000. And in table 2, you will include the manager whose salary did exceed 100,000. That is the difference between table 1 includes non-owner employees with less than 100,000. Table 2 includes non-owner employees with higher than $100,000 in salary. And there was a drop in headcount. So that will also come here. So Phoebe, Ross, and Rachel will be listed in table 1 and Joey on table 2. Again, received compensation from borrower at an annual rate of greater than $100,000 during 2019. The next point is the 5 and 6 read forgiveness, reduction of drop in pay, and salary reduction safe harbors. So drop in pay and safe harbor. If employer dropped any workers' earnings below $100,000 salary or hourly rate by more than 25% compared to the period of January 1 through March 31. So the COVID hit past March 31 in most cases. Then the PPP forgiveness will be reduced unless a safe harbor is met. The example, David's weekly salary dropped from $1,000 per week during the base period to $700 per week during the covered period. So David still worked full-time during the covered period with the full-time equivalency employee equivalency of 1.0. The first $250, 25% are exempted from the reduction, but he got $50 more than that. So 700 plus 250 plus 50. So the first 25% is exempted. If the employer is selecting the 8-week period, then the forgiveness reduction will be $400, and if they select the 24-week period, the time will be the amount will be $1,200 for the reduction of the forgiveness. Why? Because there was a drop in pay. However, the safe harbor in tax law is called getting out of jail for free. If you had a drop in pay using 24 weeks covered period, it may increase the reduction in forgiveness. Only if you meet the reduction safe harbor, you can escape this, and that is that you restore the pay before 12/31/20. So salary reduction safe harbor, you restore the drop in pay by December 31st of this year, 2020, or earlier, sooner than that. So because today is November 7th, you still have time to restore the pay and get the forgiveness for the entire amount. If the certain employee salaries wages reduced between February 15 and 04/26, but borrower eliminates those reductions by 12/31 or earlier, borrower exempt from reduction in forgiveness for pay for drop in pay. So this is, you must qualify for the safe harbor. The second condition of this that you have to memorize is if there is no drop in pay during the February 15th through April 26th period, the safe harbor is not available. If you, let us say, drop the pay in May or in June, that safe harbor is not applicable to you. So example, David Inc. did not have a drop in pay between February 15 and April 26. After April 26, the business fell. Employees were fired or laid off. Since pay was not reduced during the period 02/15 through 04/26, no safe harbor available. So, also, Barney had a drop in pay between February 15 and April 26th. After several months, the business picked up and her salary was restored. Since pay dropped during the period, eligible for safe harbor. Since she restored the pay of employees also, any reduction forgiveness amount is eliminated. Next points. The forgiveness reduction of drop in headcount. Earlier we were talking about salary reductions. Now it is number of employees, the headcount. And the safe harbors related to that you can utilize, and also the reduction exceptions. that you can take the benefit of if you meet those exceptions. Drop in headcount. A drop in headcount of full-time equivalent employees from base period to covered period reduces the forgiveness amount if there is a drop in headcount. Unless the reason for this is the government wanted that instead of employees having to file for unemployment, they would continue to get paid from the employer. So if that did not continue, then the forgiveness will be reduced. Is the the reason this was put in place. So drop in headcount, a drop in headcount from base period to covered period reduces the forgiveness amount unless you meet one of the safe harbors or reduction exceptions. And those are on the next page, but we'll go through the example so that by that time you are familiar with how to take benefit. The base period is 2019, not 20. 2019, February 15th to June 30th, and or this year's January to 29th of February salaries, the pay periods. Or if you are a seasonal employer, then you can use any consecutive 12-week period in 2019 starting from May through September 15th. Example, 10.0 full-time equivalent employees during base period. Now you select the base period, drop to 8 full-time equivalent employees in covered period. Since full-time employee equivalent dropped by 20%, only 80% of eligible expenses will be forgiven. If you meet the safe harbor or reduction exceptions, the reduction can be eliminated. So the safe harbors. If you were unable to operate between February 15th and the end of the covered period, and there were many businesses that had to be, they were in very super spread areas and had to be closed. If you are unable to operate between February 15th and the end of the covered period at the same level of business, now this is the same level of business. If your sales fell as before February 15th due to compliance with requirements of the HHS between March 1st and December 31, because of the HHS or the CDC or the OSHA or related to the maintenance of standards for sanitation, social distancing, or any other work or customer safety requirement, you are qualified for the reduction safe harbor. So full-time employee reduction. If you reduce the employees because you had to be shut down, you are eligible. Again, if you are unable to operate between February 15 and the end of the covered period at the same level as before February 15 because of the governmental restrictions that were put in place. If the second safe harbor is if the full-time employee equivalent reduced between February 15th and April 26th compared to the base period, and that was in 2019, or for the seasonal employers between those up to September 15th, the 12 weeks. But borrower eliminates those reductions by end of this year or earlier. The borrower is exempt from reduction in forgiveness or a drop in the full-time employee equivalent. So you have to rehire. So you still have almost 1 week less than 2 months. So exactly 1 week less than 2 months today. And then there are 5 reduction exceptions. If you meet one of those, then also your reduction will be eliminated. So the employee won't restore hours. The employee didn't want to return to work because they were scared about for their children or spouses. Like we had one person, they did not want to come because the husband was going to, did not have a good immune system. So it was better that they stayed out of spreadable zones. So that they didn't restore their hours. They were not willing to return to work. Or the employee was fired for cause, or the employee voluntarily resigned, or the employee requested a reduction in hours, or the employee left and we could not hire or replace by a same quality employee. So again, there were two safe harbors that government, the business did not continue as it was before the February 15th because of the government restricting the business, or if between February 15th and 04/26, the employees were reduced, but they were restored before December 31st or replaced, or you meet the 5 exceptions that we talked about. Employees didn't want to come, or were fired for cause, or they voluntarily resigned, or the hours were reduced per their request, and or the employee could not be replaced or rehired by same quality employee. All right, this is I think almost the last point, the safe harbors example. Friends was affected by COVID. Same example, 100% owner Chandler, manager company Joey had 105,000 in 2019. 3 employees did not exceed $100,000. $3,000, $4,000, and $5,000 per month was their salaries. On Schedule A, Table 1, you will put the employees who are getting under 100,000. On Table 2, you will put the employee getting more than 100,000, if you remember the example that we had previously. But in this example, the addition we have is that Joey did not want to return to work. So Joey was lost as an employee, and there was a reduction in the headcount. So prior to being shut down by government, operated in covered period. After reopening, the capacity is only 25%. So in restaurants and skating rinks, etc., that was pretty common that they reduced the number of people who could come in. So the reduction safe harbor 1 applies, business shutdown, sales do not recover. And Chandler took a pay cut, and Chandler is own employee who had more than 100,000. So he is not subject to the drop in pay test. Chandler cut Phoebe's pay and restored it after reopen, drop in pay, salary reduction, safe harbor met. Chandler let Ross go and rehired him after reopen, drop in headcount but rehired later, safe harbor 2 applies. Joey quit himself and won't return, drop in headcount, reduction exception met. So the table 1 and table 2 will have these listings, and the average number of full-time equivalency will be listed over there. 0.5 each for the employees whose salaries were reduced, and then even though both drop in pay and drop in headcount occurred, but all the events met with safe harbor or reduction exception, therefore the forgiveness amount will not be reduced. The full employee pay during covered period qualifies for forgiveness. Also, as the last message, expenses paid for the PPP loan are not deductible on the 2020 tax return, nor will the loan be included in income. So if you are self-employed, on your Schedule C, the loan will not be recorded as income, nor the payment to you will be recorded as expense. But on your return, you will still have income, self-employment income, because your income was restored. If you're a partner in a partnership, again, you will have income to show on your tax return. And so therefore, estimated taxes will need to have been paid. And there can be a delay. They will forgive the penalty and interest, but to be on the safe side, you please go ahead and pay the estimated taxes if your salary was restored by the forgiveness, the PPP program. and it'll be the loan will be forgiven, but your taxes will still be owed. So please be mindful of that. There is discussion going on that they will not include the loan as income, and they will allow you to deduct the expenses that were paid by the loan amount, but don't depend on that till it really happens. Again, if the forgiveness, this is the last point, forgiveness, if it is not filed, so let me go through the rule first and then I will tell you the example. If the borrower does not apply for forgiveness within 10 months after the last day of the covered period, or if SBA determines that the loan is not eligible for forgiveness in whole or in part. Again, the idle loan was not deductible, right? The $10,000 that you got, some of them got the grants. Then the loan will no longer be deferred. Then borrower must begin paying the principal and interest. This is the interim final rules, section 3.2.2.b, which was passed on June 22nd. The example is the PPP loan proceeds received on April 10th. The 24-week period, because the 8-week period was not elected, the covered period begins on April 10th and ends on September 25. No loan forgiveness if the application is filed. If it's not filed following 10 months after 09/25/2020. And so if it is not filed, the loan will not be forgiven and the payments will have to begin to be repaid on July 25th, 2021. And I think the term will be 2 years. So within 2 years, the loan should be paid back and the interest rate is quite low. So the points we talked about, we showed you this slide in the beginning also. If the loan amount is less than $50,000, you can file the 3508S form. If you meet 3 tests, if you are self-employed or if you had reduction in the salary or reduction in or the government put you close your business for a while, or if you had a loss in headcount, but you loss in headcount and you reduce the salary also, then those are the 3 conditions. Then the form 3508 can be used by all borrowers. If you had 5% or more ownership, then the limit is $100,000 divided by 12 multiplied by 2.5. If you have multiple businesses across all the businesses, your limit is $20,833. If you have a drop in pay and you restore it, then there will be no reduction in your forgiveness. If you have a drop in headcount, then there are 2 safe harbors and exceptions that are available, reduction exceptions that are available, and get familiar with those and use them. And this is, we have reached the beginning point of you to file a forgiveness loan. And if there are any questions, I'm willing to take those as well. Again, by August 8th, 2020, there were 5,212,128 loans that were approved, and the amount was 525 billion, 12,201,124. Average loan size was 100,729. The percent of loans that were less than 100,000 was 82%. And the last day that the loans were approved was August 8th, 2020. And if you file today, today's rules will be applicable to you. If you file tomorrow, tomorrow's rule, if they change, and they are pretty dynamic at this point. The one point that we did not bring up is if you sold your business and the new buyer portion of the loan, because of the retention credits that he will have for the employees, will not be available to the new employer. So we are suggesting that it is better to sell your company assets wise, not the stocks wise, stock sales, selling shares of the company. And if there's a change in ownership, there is a lot of guidance yet to come, how that will be handled. That is the latest update. If you were a sole proprietor, your lost income was replaced, so you will have to pay the self-employment taxes. Same thing for a general partner in a partnership. Your lost income was replaced. You will have to pay taxes. And if you are a C or S corporate shareholder, your W-2 salary was replaced. And then also, if your rent was paid to a related company, then only up to the mortgage interest amount, the rent deduction is available. Please be mindful of that. And there are pros and cons to filing time early or later. I have no. You will have to follow the rules as of the date you filed. If your loan forgiveness does not happen before 12/31/2020, the question is, should you deduct the expenses that were for this year? In this year, most of the answers are saying yes, you should, because if the forgiveness takes place and they say that the deductions are allowed and there's a high talk of that, then you'll be better off having deducted this year and then having to amend the return next year. And with that, I will say one thing. The caterpillar told the butterfly. The caterpillar said, "You have changed," and the butterfly said, "So have you. So, and you will too." So I will give the stage back to Sini. And thank you, Anu. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. Maini. This is Sini again, and thank you for that informative talk. That was a very detailed presentation on the PPP loan forgiveness. There is one question that came through the chat from Sibi, and he asks, do you help small businesses with about 5 employees on the payroll to prepare the PPP forgiveness application? And if yes, how much would you charge?
The answer is yes, we will. And the data that will be needed is all the 941s that you have filed for this year, the state unemployment tax returns that you have filed. If you are deducting expenses and all, we will need proof of payments and also the invoices if there are any related to that. And you can send us an email and we'll talk about the amount that we will charge, or so let this be a forum where we don't discuss the payment part. So, but yeah, we can help. Definitely, we can. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we filed almost like 150 different PPP loan applications, and all of them got approved. There was only one person who was not a green card holder, therefore they were not eligible for the PPP loan. But otherwise, we had almost 100% approval rate. So, thank you.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Maini. So for everyone else, please visit sunilmainicpa.com for more detailed information.